You're sitting on an idea right now that could change your life, and you're doing nothing with it. Not because you're lazy, not because it's a bad idea, but because nobody ever handed you the actual steps. Just vague advice like, follow your passion, or just start, which honestly, start what? Start how? So today, I'm handing you the steps, all 5 of them, the exact path from I have an idea to I have income. No fluff, no theory, just the thing that actually works. Stick around till the end, because step 5 is the one almost everyone skips. And it's the reason most ideas die in a drawer instead of turning into a deposit in your bank account. Let's get into it. Most people don't fail because they lack ideas. They fail because they treat every idea like it's already a business. It's not. An idea is just a guess. And step 1 is turning that guess into something you can actually test. So here's step 1. Validate before you build. I want you to picture 2 people. Person A spends 3 months building a perfect website, a logo, business cards, the whole 9 yards, before they've sold a single thing. Person B spends 3 days asking 10 people if they'd actually pay for this. Guess who wastes less time? Validation isn't complicated. It's literally just asking, does anyone besides me want this? You can do this with a simple poll on social media. You can do it by messaging 15 people directly and asking if they'd pay for the solution you're imagining. You can do it by pre-selling before you even make the thing. Think about someone who wants to start a service offering fast turnaround branding packages for small business owners. Instead of building a website first, they post in a few small business groups, asking owners if they'd pay for simple branding delivered in 48 hours, instead of the usual 2 weeks everyone else takes. 9 people say yes, before a single design exists. That's validation. That's the difference between hoping and knowing. And here's the part people hate hearing. If nobody says yes, the idea isn't dead, it just needs adjusting. Maybe the price is wrong. Maybe the offer is wrong. Maybe you're talking to the wrong audience. Validation tells you that fast, instead of 3 months and a drained bank account telling you that slow. Okay, step 2, and this one's where people freeze up the most. Step 2 is build the smallest version that solves the problem. Not the best version, not the version you'll be proud to show your old classmates. The smallest version, the one you're almost embarrassed by. There's a name for this. It's called an MVP, a minimum viable product. But forget the jargon. Just think of it like this. If your idea is a 5-course meal, your first version is a sandwich. A good sandwich, but a sandwich. You are not opening a restaurant on day 1. Back to that branding example. Nobody needs a design agency with a fancy portfolio site on day 1. A free tool, a laptop, and a few late nights can deliver those first 9 packages just fine. It won't be fancy. It just needs to work. This is the step where perfectionism kills more businesses than competition ever will. You don't need the perfect logo, the perfect app, the perfect packaging. You need something that solves the problem today, even if it's held together with tape and good intentions. You can upgrade later. You cannot upgrade something that never launched. Step 3. This is where the income part actually starts becoming real. Step 3 is charge money immediately, even if it feels too early. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They want to give value first. Free trials, free samples, free consultations, for weeks, sometimes months, and it feels generous. It feels smart, but it's actually one of the sneakiest ways to avoid the scary part, which is finding out if people will actually pay. Money is the most honest feedback you'll ever get. Likes don't pay your rent. Comments don't pay your rent. A transfer notification does. Charge for those first clients from day 1. Doesn't have to be a big number, just a real one. The moment money moves, the idea stops being a hobby and becomes a business. Not when there's a fancy name, not when there are followers. When money moves. If you're scared to charge because you think your work isn't good enough yet, I need you to hear this. Somebody, somewhere, is in pain right now because of the exact problem you can solve, even at 60% of your best ability. They don't need your masterpiece. They need their problem gone. Charge for that. Now step 4, and this is the one that actually scales the income part. Step 4 is systemize what worked before you try to grow it. This is where a lot of new business owners almost burn out, because once word spreads about that early success, more people show up wanting in. And suddenly, it's 16-hour days. Messages at midnight, redoing revisions at 2 a.m., panicking because this pace clearly can't last forever. Most people think the answer to growth is work harder. It's not. The answer is build a system so the business doesn't depend entirely on your exhaustion. That might mean creating a simple intake form so clients give you everything you need up front, instead of 15 back and forth messages. It might mean fixed packages instead of customizing every single quote from scratch. It might mean writing templates for the most common client questions instead of retyping the same answers every day. None of this is glamorous. Nobody makes a viral video about, "I made a Google form." But that one form can save 10 hours a week. And 10 hours a week is the difference between a business that owns you and a business you actually own. If your idea is starting to get traction and you feel like you're drowning, that's not a sign to quit. That's a sign you skipped systemizing. Fix the system before you scale the chaos. And now, step 5, the one I promised you. The one almost everyone skips, and it's quietly the reason so many promising ideas just fade out. Step 5 is reinvest before you reward yourself. Here's what happens to a lot of people the moment money starts coming in. First real profit hits the account, and suddenly there's a new phone, a small shopping spree, a treat-yourself trip. And look, you've earned a little celebration. I'm not saying don't enjoy it, but here's the trap. If you spend the income instead of feeding it back into the business, you don't actually have a business yet. You have a one-time win. Take a chunk of that early income and put it straight back in. Better tools, sharper skills, small upgrades that make the next client experience smoother than the last. No flashy purchases for the first few months. Feed the machine first, and eventually, it feeds you back. Way more than that first small payment ever could. This is the step that separates someone with a nice story about that one client I had from someone who builds an actual income stream. Reinvestment isn't about being cheap with yourself forever. It's about being patient enough, for just long enough, that the business can stand on its own legs before you start leaning on it for luxuries. So let's bring it all together, because I want this stuck in your head, not just floating past your ears. Step 1, validate before you build, because a guess isn't a business. Step 2, build the smallest version that solves the problem, because perfect is the enemy of paid. Step 3, charge money immediately, because money is the realest feedback there is. Step 4, systemize what worked, because burnout kills more businesses than bad ideas do. And step 5, reinvest before you reward yourself, because patience now is what buys you freedom later. None of this requires funding. None of this requires a business degree. It just requires a decision to actually move on the idea instead of just thinking about it. That's genuinely the entire difference between you and the people you scroll past online, wondering how they did it. They didn't have more talent. They just stopped waiting for permission. You've got an idea sitting in your notes app right now too, don't you? Be honest. Maybe it's been there for months. Maybe it's been there for years. And I'm not telling you it's guaranteed to work. Nothing's guaranteed. But I am telling you with everything in me that it will never ever turn into income while it's sitting there untouched. So here's your homework right now before you close this video. Take that idea, find 5 people, just 5, and ask them honestly if they'd pay for it. Not your mom, not your best friend who'll say yes to be nice. 5 strangers, or 5 real potential customers. That's step 1, in motion today. If this helped you see your idea a little differently, do me a favor and subscribe, because I'm building out way more of these breakdowns. Real stories, real steps, zero fluff. And if you know somebody who's been sitting on an idea way too long, send them this video. Might be the push they've been waiting for. I'll see you in the next one. Go build something.